you ever been at the Connection when the cops showed up? Welcome to the Connection. Oh, we've had several cop stories over the years. Before we get started, I am going to share a little bit tonight out of the Bible because this is Danny and I's last night, and we decided we can do whatever we want. And so we're going to. You are not leaving. You are not leaving, Braylon. Oh, yeah, this is how it always is. No. You got to go? Braylon, it was so good to see you. It's been forever. I love you. You should come again to something that we do and leave early because that's how it is. And that's all right. Hey, see you later, bro. But before we get into any of that, a couple of things. You guys, if you've been around here for a while, we have sponsored a little boy named Yah. How many of you are familiar with Yah? Everybody say Yah. Say Yahoo! Yah is a little boy in Ghana, West Africa, and we've supported him here at the Connection for, I don't know, like 5 years. So for most of you, whenever you were a part of the Connection, we probably were supporting Yah at that time. And so what we do, for those of you who are unfamiliar, every week we pass a can around, and this will be our one last can passing night. And we just have requested if we could just dump any change that we got, $38 a month. In here, we can for an entire month here tonight, and so this is the last time we're going to request this. Whatever you got in your pockets, if you've got some extra change from when you hit Wendy's on the way here, or Taco Bell, or where's your favorite fast food restaurant? McDoodles. Okay, you're crazy. Or if you hit the gas station, you got yourself a Rockstar and you got a few cents back. Or if you're just loaded and you got a couple 20s you want to drop. Hey, whatever. I'm not mad. We're just going to pass this around. Whatever you got tonight. If you don't have anything, don't worry about it. We love Yah. We support Yah. And we're going to continue to find ways to sponsor him. He's going to be sponsored through his life. And Danny and I are going to make sure that happens. So we're going to start with Zachariah, who hasn't been at the Connection in like over 3 years. Yeah. Welcome back. You got to hug me first. Everybody say hi, Zach. Hi. He says hi. When this first started. He was here when it first started. I met Zach when he was a freshman in high school. How old were you? 15. And how old are you now? 22. So I met you 7 years ago. Mm-hmm. And your mustache is a little bit thicker. You put on about 7 pounds. And other than that, you are Zachariah Moody. Hey, Zach's going to start. He's going to pass the can. Eventually, it'll get to the back. And when it gets to the back, it will magically end up in Danny's hands, and she'll take care of it from there. Hey, a couple things that we got to take care of before we jump into tonight. Those of you that have been involved lately at the Connection and are going to summer retreat with us on Thursday. This is our final event. Thursday's summer retreat, Thursday and Friday. I just need to give you a couple of details. We're leaving from the Connection at noon. We're leaving from the Connection at noon. We'll be back Friday night by 10 o'clock. Those of you who will not be your own ride, those of you that have rides, we'll let you call your parents at like Evero Hill, let them know that you are about to town. When we leave town, we will stop at Cenex/McDonald's on North Reserve. And if you want to buy yourself any traveling snacks, or if you haven't eaten lunch and you want to hit McDonald's, that meal is on you. So you should either come having already eaten lunch or with your own money to get lunch there. But then we have got your meals covered from then on, starting with dinner Thursday night. You need to bring your own sleeping gear, your own sleeping bag, pillow, blankets, whatever you want. We've got places for you to lay down, but nothing to keep you warm and comfortable. So you bring your own. If you don't, there's been several times that people have shown up and it's like, well, I guess you can use your t-shirt for your pillow and suffer because I'm not giving you my blanket. And there's not room for two in the sleeping bag. So So be sure you bring your own sleeping gear and bring swimming gear. We're going to be at the lake. We'll be on a rope swing, so if you want to bring shoes that can get wet, you can do that. I will throw you off an inner tube at some point. Whether you just tore your ACL, I don't care. I'm throwing you off a tube. Sarah was there last year, and that happened. This is your last chance to join the injury club at the Connection, and we would gladly do that for you. So bring your own swimming gear. As far as swimming suits, guys or girls, we've got one simple rule: no cracks. Girls have more cracks than guys, but we're just not going to see them there. Dudes, we don't want to see your cracks. Ladies, we don't want to see your cracks. So get a swimming suit that covers your cracks, and we will all be good to go. That is our rule with swimming gear. We also ask you, don't bring drugs or killing devices, and don't bring headphones because we're hanging out with each other. We don't need to be in our own little world. So if you have any questions at summer retreat, let me know. But we'll be leaving here noon on Thursday. If you have been at the Connection at any point in time, you've probably discovered that one of my favorite things in the world, one of my favorite sentences in the world, starts with the words, "Would you rather?" And this is our last night, and I get to do whatever I want. So I'm going to ask as many would you rathers as I want. We might be here till midnight. And you are going to answer what you would rather do. And we might debate and argue and throw chairs at each other. Welcome to the Connection. This is how we do. This is how we do. Okay, we won't be here till midnight because I got some more important things to say besides would you rather. But would you rather live near a busy airport and have to listen to the roar of the airplanes all the time, or live near a city dump and have to smell the garbage all the time? Is there anybody who wants to live by the dump? Okay, everybody throw things at Jubal because you are crazy. Take a shoe off or something. Serious. Somebody throw something at him. Throw it. Okay. Thank you, Breathe. Oh! What a shot. Hey, I've had some favorite students over the years, but I think Arlen will be our going out favorite student for the one throw to Jubal's temple. I will never forget that moment, Arlen. Thank you. That was beautiful. Okay, so the Connection would definitely rather have airplanes rather than garbage dumps. I'm cool with that. But would we rather, as a community of the Connection, would you rather wake up tomorrow with a jack-o'-lantern for a head or with tree limbs for arms and legs? This was way more unanimous than I expected. Nobody wants tree limbs? Throw something out. Okay, we have a few people who would rather have limbs. Okay, but the majority of us, by the show of hands, would like to be jack-o'-lantern heads. And I mean, this is forever. You never go back. All right. All right. Okay, we're going to get a little more serious here. Would you rather swim in freezing water or in a warm swimming pool where lots of children have been peeing? Would you rather swim in freezing cold water or in warm pool water that children have been peeing? Where are my freezing water fanatics? You guys are ridiculous. Who is joining me in the pee pool? Thank you. Because you know, every time you go to a public pool, that's what you're doing. And worse. I mean, we don't need to get technical here, but there are things worse than children's urine that are floating in those pools with you. I mean, that dude that didn't wipe very well, that just cannonballed in the deep end, I'm sorry. You're swimming in it. It's just the truth. And I would rather be warm anyways. And I would probably be one of those little kids anyways, so. No big deal. Would you rather have to fight off a mean dog using only a giant squirt gun and have no more water refills, or using 20 cans of silly string? See, to me, I think silly string would work better. I don't know. Do water guns work? To me, if I spray a dog in the face that's already mad, I'm losing a limb. You start beating him with it. I sharpen the end of the gun. I jab it in its gullet. You're disgusting, Moody. I'm loving the debate, though. I'm loving the debate. Would you rather try to win $1 million prize by twirling a hula hoop for 5 minutes without stopping? If you can do it for 5 minutes without stopping, you win $1 million. Or would you rather the challenge be that you jump on a pogo stick across a football field without stopping or falling? Do you have a better chance winning on a pogo stick or a hula hoop? How many of you are pogo sticking it? I think I would pogo stick it. How many of you, your hips don't lie, and you're hula hooping for 5 minutes? Faye, I believe it. I believe you can rock that hula hoop. I bet you do that for fun just when you're by yourself. It's like, well, I could go to bed, I could play video games, or I could hula hoop. How awesome would it be to hula hoop while listening to Shakira? Bucket list! You guys can all add that one. That was pretty much exactly like Shakira. Would you rather have to pick your nose every 10 minutes for an entire day, no matter where you were? Some of you are like, done. Jake. So shut up. Instead of every 5 minutes, what am I going to do? Pick your nose every 10 minutes for an entire day, no matter where you were, or get a noogie from someone every 5 minutes for an entire day. I'm picking my nose. Where my boogers at? Where my boogers at? Anybody else would prefer the noogie? You know how raw your head would get and how staticky your hair would look? I'm way too vain when it comes to my hair to let somebody noogie me. My little girls give me a hug and I'm like, don't touch your hair. If it was noogies, I would be, I'd be having a spaz attack. Should we do more? Yeah, we should, because I can do whatever I want. Would you rather get tangled up in an octopus's arms or have a baby elephant sit on you? Elephant! Elephant! Why would you do an octopus? You're going to die underwater. A baby elephant, you're like, oh, this is so funny. Take a picture. This will be the greatest Facebook post ever. Huh? How much does a baby elephant weigh? Is cha-cha still happening? Somebody cha-cha this baby right now. I know, but if I am wrapped up by an octopus, no, you are wrapped up. You are tangled up. How much? 6,000 pounds? There's no way. A baby? $200? You can handle 200 pounds on you. Some of you people in here are 200 pounds have been sat on it. Who's around 200 pounds? Jake, what do you wear? What? 190. Brandon, you weigh 200? Sit on Cody's lap. You can't tell me you would not rather that. Take a picture. This will be the greatest Facebook post ever. What do you got, Kylie? And we all know cha-cha never lies. Okay, would you rather always have, let's get loud on this one. I want to see some anger. I want some conviction in you that this is what you genuinely believe. That the opposition is the enemy. Would you rather have a little green piece of spinach stuck between your front teeth, always, forever, have green spinach stuck between your front teeth, or always have a little booger in your nose that moves when you breathe, a little flipper? Come on. We all have an opinion here, and I want to know. Do we have a good reason why? Because my teeth are, yeah. That's not a really good defense, but all right. I think the connection as a whole would rather have spinach. All right. Would you rather get pickle juice in your eye or lemon juice in your paper cut? If you could, you'd have to wrap it up. You'd have to make a bow tie out of it. Tuck it down your shirt, down your pants. Careful not to sit on it. How we doing temperature-wise? We all right? Anybody else have chapped lips? Because my lips hurt real bad. Who has watched Napoleon Dynamite in the last year? 6 months. 3 months. Month. Week. You've watched Napoleon Dynamite this week? You're lying. You watched it last night? Okay. I have 2 favorites now. Was it on TV or did you consciously decide, I'm going to go get the DVD? Oh, but you selected it on Netflix. You weren't just flipping channels and caught a few minutes. You watched Napoleon. Oh, man. I knew I liked you. Hey, we're going to get to chatting here a little bit. And I'm hoping not to take super duper long, but it's our last night. I can do whatever I want. How many of you guys were here for the Shut Your Mouth days? That was so much fun. Why did we ever stop doing that? Okay, so, these are some of our favorite words when Pastor Kyle is talking over the course of the connection. The first word was shut-yo. Everybody say shut-yo. And the second word was mouth, M-O-U-F, mouth. Everybody say mouth. And then we slam those words together. We say, shut your mouth. Everybody together. Ready, go. It's like the first time I've ever heard. And so generally, like when I would pray to start, I would say if the people around me are trying to talk to me, I will tell them to, and you would all go, shut your mouth. Should we do that tonight when I pray in a few minutes? Okay, I will say something to the effect of, and if the people around me try to talk to me tonight, I will tell them to, and at that moment, you all just go, shut your mouth. And it's really cool. We'll have fun and get these goosebumps feelings, and it'll be great. What? Throw something at him. Hey, we tonight are celebrating our last nights here at the Connection. It's been a 7+ year run. I think my dad hired me when I might have been 19, might have been 20. I'm 28 now, but we didn't initially start as the youth pastors. It was a crazy situation that got us to be the youth pastors here. I never wanted to do this, and then shortly after I started, I never wanted to quit. And it's been awesome. It's been a good 7.5 years. Some of you have been around just more recently. Some of you, it's been years longer. Some of you were here just for short term. Some of you were here for many years in a row. And we're just really excited to have you guys here to celebrate what God has done through this ministry over the years, to touch base with some of you again. And I would encourage all of you, especially those of you that are still in your teenage years, to stay posted on what's going to be happening here at Midtown Church as far as youth ministry. It's not over. The connection right now, as we know it, is going to look a whole lot different, but it'll probably be at least a month off, and then probably come the school year, something will be starting up again. So if you're interested in staying involved in youth ministry here, keep posted to the Connections Facebook and Facebook for Midtown Church, and if when those details become available and times and places and all that, we'll keep you posted. And we'd love to see you continue to stay involved in a church, in a youth ministry. And we obviously love this place. And if you're able to stay involved, even though it's going to be a little bit different and somebody else is going to be on the microphone, we'd love to see you stay involved. For those of you who don't know why this is our last night, Danny and I have taken a position to be lead pastors at Zootown Church downtown. It's a current existing church, and they have outgrown their downtown building. They're in a Zootown Brew coffee shop, and so they are shortly going to be starting a second campus in a much bigger building, and most of the church will be moving. As far as the people that go there will be going to the new location with them, but the church wants to continue doing church in this awesome location downtown in a coffee shop. So to do that, they needed to hire new pastors, and they offered it to us, and Danny and I prayed about it and really sought what God would want us to do. And we love Missoula, and we don't want to quit doing ministry here, and just things lined up. And so we've taken that. So starting in September, Danny and I will be pastors in downtown Missoula for all ages, not just youth pastors anymore. We will be the pastors of that church. And we're really excited about that. It's going to be definitely a whole different scenario and encounter for us. And so there's good news in that. That's our hardest decision in deciding to leave being the pastors here at the Connection is definitely some of the memories and some of the fun events we do, but mostly the people, you guys that we've got to know and love over the years. And the good news is we're still in town. We're still in Missoula. We're still able to be a part of your guys' lives, and would be honored to still be in your lives. Something that we do want to address is the fact that this ministry, The Connection, is a part of Midtown Church. It's not Danny and I's ministry. We don't own it, and because we're gone, it's no longer. This is Midtown Church, and if you've been coming here and this is your home, you still are a part of Midtown, whether Danny and I are here or not. And so we've had some conversations and had some questions about any of you possibly joining what's happening over at Zootown Church. And this is what we would say to you. First and foremost, your commitment is to Jesus and what he would call you to do, and what church he would have you be serving in and committed to, and which pastors you allow to be an influential voice in your life. That's his decision, not ours. And so we believe that you need to be committed to Jesus, and we do believe that if you're committed to Jesus, you should be committed to a church, to a local congregation, and use your gifts and be in unity with these other believers as a part of that church. So we want you plugged in somewhere. And then thirdly, you would be committed to possibly a pastor that's over you. And so here's our request. If you have a thought in your mind that you would like to continue allowing Danny and I to be your pastors at a different location, we would ask you to not just do that just because Danny and I are doing that. We would ask you to seriously consider and pray, is this what God wants you to do? And if God says, yes, that's the place I want you and those are the people I want to pastor you, we would be stoked to have you. We love you guys. We'd love to continue to pastor you. But if God doesn't tell you to go to Zootown Church and to let us be your pastors, if you don't hear that from him, we are not offended. In fact, we want you to be where God has called you to be way more than we want you to be with us. Does that make sense? And so if currently right now the Connection in Midtown is your home, we're not expecting you to join us. If God calls you to, that would really make us excited, and we'd be happy about that. We love you guys. But if he doesn't, we love this place, and we would love for you guys to stay, and my parents are the pastors, and they're going to continue doing youth ministry here, and it's going to be a great place that we love, and if you stick around here, that is awesome. If that's what God wants you to do, please do it. Does that make sense to everybody? Awesome. So that's where we're at. That's what Danny and I are doing. But tonight, we just want to celebrate and focus on what God has done here at The Connection. I can't believe this night is already here. I never knew when it would come, and then when Danny and I made this decision, it's just crazy. You know, we knew that at some point it would be our last night and our last sermon, and it's here. And before we dive into it, I just want to first off thank you guys just for allowing Danny and I to be a voice in your life over the years. No one makes you come here. No one makes you listen to me. A lot of you come from families where church isn't normal, and just the fact that you guys would show up and keep coming back and share your lives with us and let us pray with you and encourage you when no one's making you do that, it just means the world to us. I'm so grateful for all of you and the hundreds and probably thousands of kids that over the last 7 years we've got to, at one time or another, talk to and meet and shake hands and hug and pray with. I just want to thank you. You know, we're not youth pastors if there's nobody here with us, and we have to be here. You don't, and it's just such a blessing over the years, and all the faces and all the stories. And as we've been preparing for this night and inviting people on Facebook and texting, it's just like, it's overwhelming the amount of people that have allowed us to be a voice in their lives, and you're one of those. And I just want to tell you specifically tonight, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. We love you, and we're so honored that you would allow us to be this voice in your life. I want to thank Midtown Church, even though most of those people aren't here tonight. They're the people who pay me, not you guys. That this doesn't happen without faithful people at Midtown Church believing in the next generation, believing in you guys, and believing that you're worth paying somebody full time to invest in your lives. Midtown doesn't exist, the connection doesn't exist. Generous, loving people of Midtown Church, if they don't exist, there's no way we could do what we've done. So Midtown deserves a whole lot of thanks and credit. And to my parents, they're back here tonight. Some of you might not know them. My dad's over here in the Jamaica shirt. My mom's over on the other end. They're apparently fighting right now because they're not sitting together. They're not fighting right now. I shouldn't have said that. No. These are my parents, and they're the pastors of Midtown Church, if you didn't know that. I could never thank you guys enough, and I'll never understand all that you've sacrificed and all that you've believed in and allowed us to do, and the crazy things you've allowed us to do, and the injuries you've let us sustain, and the stupid things you let us write on walls. And when we were like 20 years old, you let us take teenagers to another country, which is ridiculous. I can't believe those parents let us. But I can't thank you guys enough. And not even just the last 7 years, but the 10 years of this church and the 28 years of parenting me and believing in me. And I'll never know how much you guys mean to me, and I'll never be able to express how much I love you and how grateful I am. And what an amazing opportunity to work with your parents for so long. And I love you guys. I'm so thankful. Thanks. And now I'm going to preach my last sermon to you guys at the Connection. I'm going to have Danny come talk because I'm a wreck. And she's a wreck. We're going to pray, and then Danny's going to say a few things. And when you guys yell, shut your mouth, I'm going to feel way better. And then Kelso rolls in. So good to see you, bro. Come up here. Hey, we're going to pray. Danny's going to say a couple things, and then I'm going to preach as long as I want to, because I get to do whatever I want. And then we'll hang out and have some more candy and coffee and hug each other some more. You look good, Kelso.
We blew this phone, had to go.
Good. Hey, would you bow your heads with me? We're going to pray and then dig into a few things tonight. Father, I just love you, and I'm so honored to have been able to to be the youth pastors here at Midtown and at the Connection and all the lives that you've allowed us, even with our imperfections and our insecurities and our immaturities over the years, that you've allowed us anyways to be a voice, to be the connection between you and the young people of Missoula. It's been such an honor. We just thank you for this opportunity tonight to one last time share the truth of your words and the hope of who Jesus is. And I pray that we'll be able to communicate it clearly without too much snot and tears. And we're so honored and excited, and we do want to not just be sad tonight, but celebrate the amazing things that you've done over the years. I pray that we'll be able to stay focused and pay attention over the next few minutes. And if the people sitting next to me try to talk to me tonight, I will tell them to. Because I'm trying to hear from God. Have your way in our lives tonight. You're awesome. We love you. It's your name we pray. And the Connection said. Amen. The Connection said. Amen.
Hi, guys. I don't get up here very often and talk to you. But I just wanted to say on our last night how much I love you guys. I've always kind of felt like I've been able to be a mom to you guys. And it's just something I'm so blessed to be able to have done. And I really, really love all of you so much, and all of your stories. I'm so proud to see you guys and changes you've made in your lives, and just growth and maturity and just the people that you are today. I'm just so proud of all of you, and I just want you to know that God has such great plans for your lives, and even if you don't believe that right now, or you don't see that right now, it's true, and he really does have the best in mind for you. And I just hope that you guys will always remember that, and I hope that what we've been able to speak into your lives over the last couple of years, you just take that above all else, that God really does love you. And I know that sounds cliche, but it's true. And he really does have great plans for your lives. And we believe that with all of our hearts. And I just love you guys. And I want you to feel free to call us and text us still and whatever you want to do. And I'm done.
Give it up for Danny. With that side note, we do mean it. Call us, text us. Kelso, you've called me at like 3 in the morning like a dozen times. You can stop, but everybody else. Cell phones aren't changing. We're still here in town, and we still have to be a part of your lives, whatever that looks like. We're still around. Facebook still works, and we can still chat, hang out. Tonight, I just want to share a few things. I was really thinking about, how do you summarize this? How do you close out this wild ride of the Connection? And I really don't know that there is a good way or a right way, but I was just really kind of impressed by God to just summarize a lot of, especially the last 5 years, what it's looked like, and the mission statement of the Connection, what we've tried to be, and who we really feel God has called us to be, and how to pass that on. So tonight, I don't really have a lot of funny stories and stuff that I try to weave into all of our speaking. So tonight might not be as funny and as many stories, but it's my last night. I can do whatever I want. So I've chosen tonight, I want to just kind of give a brief synopsis of the mission of this place, what we've been, and then I want to give you kind of the 5 verses that have really structured who we've been over the last at least 5 years, the verses that God really spoke into our lives and that were really foundational here at the Connection over the years. And you're going to remember them the times that you were here, because these are verses we talked about and read and memorized and threw candy at you for knowing over the years. You're going to know these verses for the seasons that you were here. And I just kind of, as our last, I can't give you guys gifts and presents because we didn't get paid that well. But we can give you, this is kind of my gift to you, is these 5 things that if we can take these 5 pillars with us when we leave here, this is what the Connection has been and what it's tried to breed inside of your hearts and in your lives. And if that can be us when we leave here, we're going to be all right. And we're going to be okay. So that's what I'd like to, that's the format of tonight. So I want to start by just going back to the mission statement of the Connection. Why we did anything that we did is partly in the name. It was our goal that we would be the connection between God and the young people of Missoula. That's why we're called what we're called. We want to be the connection between God and the young people of Missoula. That regardless of what we did, whether it was throwing cow tongues at each other or hosting concerts or traveling to other countries or going to conferences or having dance parties or all the crazy things that we have done, mosh pits, broken faces, karaoke nights, skit talent shows, Thanksgiving dinners, Halloween parties, everything that we have done over the years, every single one of those was done with one purpose, that it would be an opportunity for us to connect the young people to God. A God that loves them and has a plan for them that they don't know, to connect them to Him. And this has been our mission. And you may remember, we've talked about this several different times over the years, but we felt like God gave us a strategy called the Connection 3-step. The 3 steps that it takes to get somebody genuinely connected to God. And we view this connection to God as we do any relationship. Not religion, not serving, doing things for Him to make Him happy, but really like a relationship. And so there's 3 steps in any relationship, and it's the same with God, and this is what we hope you have tonight before you leave. Think of the closest relationship you have, your closest friend in your life. There was a point in time where you didn't even know that human being existed. But there was a day where step 1 of the relationship occurs where you are introduced to that person. I remember for Danny, she's the closest person to me. It was the first day of 6th grade at Valley Christian School with nasty bangs and 2 braces on her front teeth, and she was smoking hot. That's gross to say about a 6th grader, but I was a 6th grader too, so it's all right. But there's this moment where you're introduced to them. Now, at that point, you don't really have a lot in common. You haven't spent time together. You're not going to invite them to spend the night at your house. You're not going to share close details of your life, but at least you would recognize them. And there's several people, tons of people in our lives that we've been introduced to, but we're not really connected to them. And then step 2 in any relationship is you spend time together. You kind of have the same group of friends. Maybe you sit at the same table, or you play on the same sports team, or you listen to the same music, or you have several of the same classes, or when somebody has a birthday party, you've got mutual friends and you kind of all hang out together. And so you've got some of the same friends, the same interests, and you know each other well. You would probably talk to each other if you passed each other in the mall or something, but you're not going to ask them to spend the night, and you're not going to call them with heartbreak issues or really exciting issues, that there's somebody else that you would call before them. And then there's the 3rd level of relationships, which are very few in our forgiveness, the grace, the joy that is in Jesus. But we don't want to stop at just introducing you to Him. We want you to hang out, be in church, be around some of the same people, get to know His personality, hear a little bit more about who He is through the Bible that we read. And so like going to a church and being involved in a church is a really good way to be at step 2 with Jesus. You get to know more about Him, hang out with some of the same friends. But at the same time, that doesn't mean you're at stage 3 connection with Jesus. Because it's possible, should that connection disappear, should you move to another state and not go to that church anymore, or that pastor hightails it and leaves it to go across town to that downtown church, something like that happens, then if you're only at step 2, then you run the risk of that relationship no longer existing. So it's our passion to not just get you to step 1 and step 2, but to step 3, where your relationship with God is no longer dependent on your pastors. It's no longer dependent on your church or your youth group. that you and God, you hang out with each other on a daily basis. That's where a genuine relationship with God is at. And that's been our goal with each and every person that walks in those doors. Even the farthest from God, we want to introduce you to Jesus, but then we want you to hang out with us and get to know him a little bit better. But ultimately, we want you in a place where it doesn't matter if we're no longer your pastors. It doesn't matter if you move to another state or you feel like you're too cool to hang out at the Connection anymore. Your relationship with God is still intact. And that's our goal, and that's our passion. That's what we hope that you leave with tonight. So I want to, right now, that being our mission, I want to rewind the clock a little bit, all the way back to 2009. And we're going to start 2009. How many of you were here in 2009? Moody was here, Tristan was here, Daniel was here, Missy was here, Whitney was here. 2009 was a long time ago. How old were some of you in 2009? How old were you, Preston? You were just a little boy. 2009, this was like entering our third year as youth pastors here. And that was the first year where God really put in our hearts like a theme and a verse that really spoke to us that we were to focus on for an entire year. And so in 2009 we did that, and then for the next 4 years, so a total of 5 years, every year God has spoken a specific verse and a specific theme that has been all we talk about for an entire year, and it really makes up who we are and what we're passionate about. And so there's been 5 of those starting in 2009, and I want to share with those with you here tonight. So in 2009, God spoke a verse into my heart that will never go away, and it's found in the book of Jude, verse 23. Is there anyone here who can remember that far back what Jude 23 possibly says? Snatch others from the fire and save them. This verse just became our life for a year. Back in 2009, a history lesson for those of you who weren't here, and even if you don't care about it, it's our last night, I can do what I want. 2009, we were like mostly like homeschool kids and like really, really goody two-shoe Christians. And that's cool, that's good. We had a really good time hanging out with other people that believed the same thing. But God kind of wrecked us with this verse that we are not here on this earth to meet Jesus and then just hang out with other people that know Jesus until we get to go to heaven and see Jesus. That there is a bigger reason why God leaves us here on this earth rather than just have fun with other believers. That Jesus, his passion is that we would get to know him, that we would believe in him, but then we would spend the rest of our lives snatching other people from the fires of hell so that they could be saved as well. That in essence, a Christian, a person who knows Jesus and knows that they have been forgiven of their sins and instead of going to hell, gets to go to heaven, knows that and knows that that is available to everybody else, yet refuses to put forth any effort to tell anybody else, is the biggest jerk on the planet. And unfortunately, that was kind of how we were operating. And unfortunately, that's how a lot of Christians still operate. That you can be happy that you're going to heaven, but we do nothing about all the people around us in our community that aren't. And so Jesus, he made his commission as soon as he called his followers to him from the very beginning. He says, follow me and you're going to be fishers of men. You're going to be snatching men. When Jesus left this earth, he said, it is your commission. It is your mandate that you will spend the rest of your life helping other people find this hope of heaven. And that's the same message he would give to us. And we spent a whole year in Jude 23 that we are to be people who snatch others from the fire and save them. We will not just attend the Connection, learn more about God, and hang out with other goody two-shoe Christians. We will be people that go into our schools, into our communities, and we will snatch others from the fire and save them. Now that completely transformed the look of the Connection. And instead of like getting together and like having these 2-hour-long worship and prayer services, we showed up and like the cops were showing up, and this was like drug central, drug dealing for the community of Missoula. Like teenagers would show up here to get drugs, and we'd have drug busts, and some of you have had difficult conversations with me because of the drugs that you were doing or distributing, and it turned into this whole new world of what is going on here, who are these people and why do they smell so funny. And that really became the connection, because we were no longer satisfied with just goody two-shoe Christians, that we were going to see people who didn't know Jesus, who didn't grow up in the church, come to see the hope of Jesus, and we were going to love people as best that we could. But there was a problem, that these people looked and smelt different than us, and it was kind of uncomfortable. It was okay when it was like one or two and we got to pray for them. It was like, yay, we're awesome. But when we were now the minority, the people that didn't have red eyes and the people that don't have a criminal record, like when we were the minority, it started to freak us out a bit. Like, who are these crazy people and what do they want? And we would stash our wallets elsewhere, and it was a weird season. And so God gave us this verse going into 2010. And this was a pillar, a theme, and something I want to give to you. That you wouldn't just spend your life snatching others from the fire and saving them. But he gave us this verse, 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 16. And it says, so from now on, we regard no one from a worldly point of view. Though we once regarded Christ this way, we do so no longer. That we would begin viewing people the way that God views them. That we wouldn't view these people as different than us and worse than us and lower than us, and I can't associate with them because they do that substance and I believe this way, and I'm trying to, and we as humanity, we have such a difficult time with judging people and with putting them in social paradigms and boxes that are not appropriate. And it's so easy for us to feel spiritually superior because I don't have a drug issue, and because I don't have that gambling problem, because I don't, and it's so easy for us. And so we came to this point where God had to wreck us, where we would no longer view other people from a worldly point of view, but understand that that is God's child. That he loves them just as much as he loves me. That I am no better than the strung out, druggy teenager on the street. That it is only the grace of God that has saved me and set me free, and it's the same grace that's available to them. And it is not okay for me, for us as a community, for us as followers of Jesus, to look at other people from a worldly point of view. Though we once viewed Christ in this way, we do so no longer. So 2010, we spent the whole time like on perspective, that we have got to view people with the eyes of compassion that God views them with, that it is not okay to be judgmental. And then we started getting more crazy people because we didn't judge them, because they were welcome here. And that's one of my favorite things going back in the connection, that so many, even of you here tonight, but many more that aren't here tonight, who didn't really feel welcome in church communities, felt welcomed here. That even though you did some things that we don't necessarily approve of, and even though you look certain ways, that you're still welcomed here and loved here. And as that happened, more and more people came because God had wrecked us and allowed us to treat people the way that he desired them to be treated. Now we go to 2011. This is getting closer to a lot more of your time zone. And God gave us this verse, this pillar, this third gift I want to give to you tonight. Is James chapter 1, verse 22. Anybody remember this one? What does this one say, Tasha? What's the point of it? Just do it, yeah. It says, do not merely listen to the word and so deceive yourselves. Do what it says. That the problem was we had become a community that loved each other and that welcomed people that weren't like us, and we snatched and saved, and we didn't judge people. We had a good perspective, but we weren't making any progress in our lifestyle. We were coming and we were hearing and we were learning what the Bible is teaching us, but just hearing what it says is a whole lot different than doing what it says. And so we spent this whole year that we would not just be hearers of the word, but doers of the word. Now this is an awful trap. It says don't merely listen to the word and so deceive yourselves. That the problem is that a lot of people, and if we're not careful, maybe us, we think that because we go to church or we occasionally read our Bible or we hear someone preach, we hear and we grow in our knowledge of the Bible, we think that that's doing us some good, that that's getting us somewhere, that we're making God happy because we're learning what the Bible says. And a lot of people even today all around the world go to church and they learn every week more and more what the Bible says, and they could tell you what it says, but it doesn't matter if you're not actually doing what it says. It says one of the greatest deceptions is people that go to church, go to youth group, hear the message of God and do nothing about it. That it's our goal that we would be people that hear the word and do something about it. that we put it into action, that faith without action is dead, that we would be alive Christians, that we would actually do what it says. And so we would just, again, passionately ask you to read your Bible. It would be one of the greatest things you could ever do to fall in love with your Bible. And I really believe that anyone who isn't in love with the Bible hasn't really read the Bible. Because when you read that thing, and when you're going through a situation in life and God speaks exactly what you need to hear, and it happens all the time if you would read it, and he speaks to you and you see the hope and you see the joy and you see the redemption. I mean, it is better than any joint you've ever smoked. I mean, the Bible is your ultimate drug, your ultimate high, and it's completely legal, and you should read it all the time. When you understand the gospel, the good news of Jesus, when you read it, there's no way you can't fall in love with it. Are you going to kick her all night? Kelso, you're the boss. She kicks nobody. And Kelso, you kick nobody for the rest of the night. I'm so glad you guys are back. Hey. Last thing on reading your Bible. I would tell you this too. Don't read your Bible to make God happy. Don't read your Bible for God. Read your Bible for you. God isn't sitting there hoping you'll read your Bible because it makes his day better. God's all right. He's happy enough. He doesn't need you to do anything to make him happy. The reason he gave you the Bible, he gave you the Word of God, is so that you could experience the life and the joy and the peace that it brings. And too often we get in this trap of, well, I didn't read my Bible yesterday, I should read a little bit more today. And we get under this feeling, this pressure that I need to read the Bible because God's expecting me to read. And if I don't, then God's not going to be as happy. That's not the case. Read the Bible because God wants you to grow and mature and to be effective. Don't read the Bible to make God happy because that's not necessary. Read the Bible for you. That's his heart, his desire. Jump to 2012. This has been a monster verse that will always be carried with us. And it's found in the book of Hebrews chapter 12. And it's verse 2. But I want to talk about 1 through 3, including verse 2 tonight. It says this. Chapter 11 is talking about all the heroes of the faith and these amazing people that are cheering us on in our faith walk with God. And it starts, chapter 12, it says, "Therefore, since we're surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders us and the sin that so easily entangles us, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us." That there is a race, there is a life marked out, there is a plan for you, there is a purpose, and we should persevere in running that race and living that life. Verse 2 says, "Let us fix our eyes on Jesus, the author and the perfecter of our faith, who for the joy set before him endured the cross, scorning its shame, and is seated at the right hand of God." Meaning that our individual job, hey, give me a few more minutes. This is the last time you have to listen to me. Give me a few more minutes of your attention. It says that our single job, our greatest priority would be not our extra efforts for Jesus and our extra good behaviors to perfect our own faith, but our single job is to fix our eyes on Jesus. And that when we do that, he's the perfecter of our faith. That God's not asking you to just figure out how to clean up your act. All he's asking you is to keep looking at how good Jesus is and get to know him. And as you read about him and you discover him and you hear teaching about him and you talk to him, you're going to find yourself being cleaned up. But it was never your efforts. It was Jesus carrying the heavy load all along. We've used the illustration of going through the automatic car wash. That when you go to the car wash, your job as the driver of the car is not to wash your car. Your job is to follow the little dude who's pointing which way you should get your tires. And once you get on track, he says, hold up, kick it into neutral, and you just kind of hang out and watch the pretty colors. And you get to the end of the car wash, and your car is clean. And did you clean it? No. All you did was you got on track and you didn't derail yourself. And Jesus is saying the same thing here. I'm not asking you to clean your life. I'm asking you to get on track and just don't derail yourself. And before you know it, your life is going to look a whole lot cleaner. Those addictions you thought you couldn't kick, that bitterness that you thought you'd never get rid of, that unforgiveness, that anger, that rage, that pain that you thought you could never get off, and you tried. All of a sudden it's clean, but it's not because you cleaned it. It's because you focused on Jesus and he did the dirty work for you. It says in verse 3 of this chapter 12, consider him, think about him, ponder him, obsess over him, Jesus. who endured such opposition from sinful men, so that you will not grow weary and lose heart. That we've seen far too many people come through the connection who have put their faith in Jesus, looked at Jesus, but when things got tough, began to try harder and work harder and be better and grow weary and give up. But what you must understand is, regardless of how difficult things may seem to get at any point in time in your life, that your efforts, your trying harder is not what keeps you in the game. It says that when we consider him, when we think about Jesus, when we just get obsessed with Jesus, you won't grow weary. You won't lose heart. You won't give up. That our passion is that one day when our lives are all over, and I hope it's a long time from now, that each one of us would have maintained faith in Jesus till the day that we die. And I can believe that you can do that, because I know it's not how good you are, it's not your behavior, it's not your efforts, that every single one of you, regardless of how jacked up your life is or not, that every single one of us can make it to the end with continued faith in Jesus. And it's not based on how hard you tried to be good. It's based on, did you keep considering, thinking, pondering, and looking at Jesus? He's not just the author. He is the perfecter, the sustainer, and the finisher of your faith. And this year, 2013, our last year, God gave us a verse that has been our theme here lately. And it's John chapter 5, verses 39. And Jesus, he's talking to religious people. And he tells them, you search the scriptures because you think that by them, by obeying them, by following all the rules, by being a really good guy, you'll attain eternal life. But that's not the point of the scriptures. The scriptures point to me, Jesus says. Yet so many of you religious people refuse to come to me to have this life. That our theme right now, and the gift I want to give you of challenging you and believing in you, is that Jesus is the ultimate source of life. And you don't have to be a super spiritual person. You don't have to be a really well-behaved person to attain eternal life. Jesus tells the super spiritual, really religious guys that have memorized books of the Bible, that count how many steps they take on certain days because they want to be careful that they don't go over the limit to make God mad. Like, these guys are by the book kind of guys, and Jesus says, it's not that hard. It's not that big a deal. He says it's simply coming to me. That I want you to know tonight that the point of the scriptures, the point of the Bible, the point of Jesus communicating to you is not telling you how much better you need to be. He's simply telling you how good he is, and he is the source of life, and all you have to do, regardless of how messed up your past has been, is come to him. That Jesus is the way, he's the truth, and he's the life. That Jesus is the point. It's not your behaviors. That's all Scripture is telling you. Would you reach underneath your chairs? Everyone should have a blue Bible. And would you turn with me to one last verse as we conclude tonight? It's the book of John, and it's chapter 15. And I also need a Bible. Book of John, chapter 15. And someone can yell out the page number when you get there. It's page 800 something. Page 803 for those of you who are unfamiliar with the Bible. Page 803, and it should say John at the top of the page. And there we are. Big number 15 there, right at the very end of the page, is where we're going to start. And I'm just going to read a few of these verses. And these are the concluding words that I would like to challenge you with tonight. The last words, the last verses I get to present to you as your youth pastor here at The Connection is these words. So I would ask you, I honestly don't intend to take more than just a few more minutes. Would you give me the honor and the privilege of just focusing for these last few minutes as I just read these last few verses and make a few closing comments? I greatly appreciate it. John chapter 15. Jesus is talking here, and what he says to the people there, he says to you, and I want to echo what Jesus is saying here to you tonight. These are the words I would encourage you with as we close out here at The Connection. Jesus says, I am the true vine, and my Father is the gardener. He cuts off every branch in me that bears no fruit, while every branch that does bear fruit, turn the page, he prunes, so that it will be even more fruitful. You are already clean because of the word I have spoken to you. Remain in me, and I will remain in you. No branch can bear fruit by itself, but must remain in the vine. Neither can you bear fruit unless you remain in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. If a man remains in me and I in him, he will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. If anyone does not remain in me, he is like a branch that is thrown away and withers. Such branches are picked up, thrown into the fire, and burned. If you remain in me, and my words remain in you, ask whatever you wish, and it will be given to you. This is to my Father's glory, that you may bear much fruit, showing yourselves to be my disciples. As the Father has loved you, so have I loved you. As the Father has loved me, so have I loved you. Now remain in my love. If you obey my commands, you will remain in my love, just as I have obeyed my Father's commands and remain in his love. I have told you this, so that my joy may be in you, and that your joy may be complete. We can stop there. If I could just close with one sentence, it would be what Jesus says here. If I could ask you one thing, one favor, it would be that you would remain in Jesus. Just remain in him. I'm not asking you to go do these crazy, ridiculous spiritual things. Not everybody's going to be a preacher. Not everybody is going to do these lofty, crazy things, but this stuff isn't what matters. What Jesus is interested in, what he's asking of you, what I would ask of you, is that you just remain in him. And the reason he asks it, I love as he concludes there in verse 11, is not because he's some egotistical God that needs you to remain in him and be his little servants. He says, the reason I want you to remain in me is so that you might have joy. And you might have the most complete joy you've ever experienced. That the reason Jesus wants you with him is for your benefit. And Danny and I would say the same thing. If we could leave here knowing that the rest of your lives will just be complete joy, even if we never see you again or get to talk to you again, we can know that you will have the most fulfilled, joyful life possible if you remain in Jesus. I love that Jesus makes it pretty simple here. He says that you'll bear much fruit if you remain in me. And what I love about that is, if you look at trees or anything that bears fruit, we picked raspberries yesterday and they just have raspberries all over these bushes. And if you look at fruit being produced by a tree hanging off of a branch, you've never seen a branch sweat because it works so hard to produce fruit. All you've ever seen a branch do is have a good connection to the vine and just chill. And as long as it has a strong connection to the vine, fruit just starts popping everywhere. You're a branch, and Jesus is the vine. That to produce fruit, to produce effectiveness, to live out your purpose, to make a difference in this world, to make a difference in people's lives, to experience joy and peace and freedom in your life. It doesn't come by your hard work. You're a branch. That it comes by having a good connection to the vine. It comes by you having a good connection to Jesus. You having a fruitful, joyful life, I believe that you can have it. It has nothing to do with me. It's not about a preacher. It's not about a youth group. It's about the vine. And the vine that will never leave you and never forsake you, will never move out of state, will never move across town, will never be unavailable. The vine, the Jesus, he is always with you. And if you remain in him, he remains in you, and you bear fruit, and your joy is complete. And then we get a party in heaven forever. Woo. It'll be a little funner than that, Kelso. But would you, tonight, my last plea, my last request, would you Hebrews 12:13, consider him. Would you tonight consider Jesus, who endured terrible opposition at the hands of sinful men like you and me? Would you consider him so that no matter where this life takes you, you won't grow weary, you won't lose heart, that we all make it to the throne of Jesus one day in heaven? Would you tonight consider him? Would you get connected to that vine, that source of life? And just stay connected. Just kick it in neutral and just never stop looking at him. Never stop pursuing him. Never stop learning about him. That you would, as these 5 pillars, once again, understand that that Jesus is the point. That all we need to do is look at him. That we should read his words and follow what he's telling us because it's for our joy. That we wouldn't look at anybody else from a worldly point of view, and we'd spend our lives snatching others from the fire and saving them. I know you do that, you can change this world. Doesn't matter how gifted you are, how educated you are. Doesn't matter what family you came from. Doesn't matter your history in the church. Doesn't matter your addictions or your issues that you've walked through, the abuse that you've suffered. Doesn't matter. You can change your world. There's hope and there's potential and there is purpose inside of your lives. And it comes to fulfillment, not by your own efforts, but by keeping connected to the vine, by fixing your eyes on Jesus. Would you bow your heads with me one last time? I'd like to conclude by having one last opportunity to pray with you. I don't know where you guys are at in your life. Some of you haven't seen for years. But I would like to give you an opportunity to just, with heads bowed and eyes closed, just respecting the people around us. I don't want anybody else to see this because I don't want you to be embarrassed. But I'm going to ask you in a minute to respond to some questions by just raising your hand so I can just pray for you. And the first question is tonight that you haven't been considering Jesus, that you maybe have had a misunderstanding of who Jesus is. But tonight, I just want to make sure that you're connected to the vine. Whether it's the first time you've ever considered being connected to Jesus, or maybe you did a while back, but it just hasn't been a real deal, that maybe you're one of those branches that's been cut off, and if you're cut off, you run the risk of being thrown into the fire, as the verse says, and that would be a tragic end that would break our hearts. We want to see you reconnected to the vine. If you're here tonight, and I could just pray for you. I'm not going to embarrass you, call you out. I'm going to have you raise your hand, put it back down. I'm just going to pray for everyone in general. If that's you tonight and you'd like to get connected to the vine, you'd like to be connected to Jesus, would you just raise your hand? And I just want to pray for you simply. So cool. So cool. You guys can put your hands down. Anybody else say that's me too? I'm going to ask just one last time. If that's you, there's nothing else I'd rather do than just pray for you to be reconnected to the vine. Last time, if that's you want to join those several that have already raised their hand. Awesome. Awesome. I'm going to ask you this, and this is something that we'll never be able to see if you fulfill till we're in heaven together. But I'm going to ask you just because it means something to me. If you're here tonight and even if you're just getting connected to Jesus or maybe you are connected to Jesus, but tonight you would just say, you know what? I'm going to choose right now that regardless of what life throws my way, I'm going to remain. I'm going to remain in the vine. I'm going to stick with Jesus. If that's you and you have that sense inside of you, and again, we'll not be able to see how this works out till it's all over and done, but just to make me happy, if that's you, would you just raise your hand right now and say, you know what, I'm going to remain. I'm sticking with Jesus. I'm not going anywhere. I'm believing in this Jesus, and no matter what life throws my way, I'm sticking with him. If that's you, would you just raise your hand all across this room? Awesome. You guys are the best. Would you stand up? And you can open your eyes, and I'm just going to ask, we did this occasionally, we're going to do it tonight. Would you put your hand on the shoulder of somebody near you, and we're going to pray. We're going to pray for those that responded tonight. We're going to pray for everyone else. We're going to pray for this church, the future of this ministry. And then we're going to eat the rest of the pizza and drink the rest of the coffee. And you guys aren't leaving without giving me a hug or Danny a hug. And let's pray. Father, we just love you so much tonight. I thank you so much for those tonight whose hearts are stirred to be connected to the vine. God, I know that's something that only you can do, that it doesn't come by words of man, but it comes by the work of the Holy Spirit in our hearts. And Lord, I pray that each one of us, as we leave here tonight, we are grafted back into the vine. And I pray that as long as we live, we would remain, we would stay focused, we would understand the simple grace that it's not about our efforts, it's simply about the finished work of Jesus that we get graciously grafted into. God, those that raised their hands and those that didn't, but it stirred in their hearts tonight to give a commitment of living for you, of looking at you and discovering you and putting their hope and faith in you. God, I believe that that's happening, and we're going to walk forth in that confidence. I pray that each and every one of us, that we would leave here considering you, pondering you, obsessing over you, and for the rest of our days, hopefully that's like 80 to 100 years. Maybe 130 would be fun. Set some records. That we would remain in you till it's all said and done. And I know that if we do that, our relationship doesn't end tonight. It doesn't end at death. It never ends because we hang out with you in eternity. Thank you that we get to be party people in eternity where there won't be injuries and there won't be cops, and we'll just chill with you forever. You're an awesome God. We love you. Thank you for the privilege and the honor these last several years, the lives that have been touched. Thank you that it's not over, and that you're going to continue to do great things in this church, in this ministry. You're going to continue to use Danny and I in this city, and I think that we still get to be friends, and we still get to text and call and Facebook each other. We love you. You're an awesome God. It's your name we pray. And the connection said, Amen. Give it to me one more time. The connection said, Amen. Amen. I love you guys, and Brandon is stealing the microphone. Let's hang out. I don't want you to leave without hugging you.
Hey guys, if you could sit down just for 2 minutes real quick before we take off. I'm Kyle's older brother, Brandon. So I've met some of you, and just a couple things here real quick. First of all, I want to thank Danny for being here on the one night I'm speaking in front of the Connection. Over the last 7 years, I've spoke numerous times, and Danny always seems to leave or not be here, and so I had to grab the mic before Danny took off. But just real quick, I want to share a story with you about Kyle. Earlier, one of those would you rathers about would you rather the cold water or swimming in the pool of pee. Seriously, growing up, we were on this family vacation down in Phoenix, and there's a swimming pool and a hot tub, and we were down there for like a whole week. And like Thursday, Friday, my parents realized Kyle hasn't had to go to the bathroom at all this week. We've been here at the pool. So my mom asked Kyle, said, Kyle, do you have to go to the bathroom? What's going on? And Kyle said, oh no, all week I just run over to the hot tub and jump in the hot tub when I have to pee and go and get back in the pool. For like 5 days straight, Kyle was peeing in the hot tub 2 to 3 times a day. So he's not joking when he says that is what he would rather. He's been there and done that. So, hey, real quick, Danny, can you come up here, please? And Kyle. Yeah, why don't you guys give it up for these guys? They've done so much for you. Just Charlie, you want to come on up here? Come here, Char. Let's hear it for Charlie. Woo! Awesome. You guys, first of all, I just love you and so proud of you in the last 7 years, and just seeing what you've done and the stories, and you guys are a lot of work, and the late nights and the tears and the rejoicing. I'm sure Kyle and Danny would tell you it's all been worth it. And I just want to tell you guys how proud I am of you on behalf of the rest of the Smith family, your siblings, those of us who are here tonight. We're just so proud of you guys, and so bittersweet to see you leave, but so excited for what's next in the journey. And it's just so cool tonight hearing the last few years, just the journey they've been on and that you guys have been on. And if you guys have been around at all, Kyle and Danny have kind of started a tradition here through this journey, that when anyone leaves the journey or leaves the Connection, they've been presented with a clock, and so that when they look at that clock, they can remember the time they spent together. And so Kyle, from all of us tonight, we want to give you and Danny a clock to hang in your home, and every time you look at that you guys will remember the time, all the time and the memories here at the Connection. So just, we love you guys, proud of you. Good luck to you in the future. And cool part is I'm his brother, so I still get to see him. Just love you guys and thank you for serving the young people of Missoula. So let's eat pizza.
Hey, I apologize. Jubal he promised this will be less than a minute. If it's more than a minute, somebody time it, throw something at him. See ya, I'm really sweaty. Hey, this will be less than a minute. If it's more than a minute, we're throwing stuff at him. Ready, go.
I came here a little more than a year ago. And Kyle, Julie, I was a punk back then, wasn't I?
Still are.
Okay, I'm a nicer punk. But Kyle helped me get back on track, turned me into who I am today. And there's someone here who is very dear to me, who he also had that same influence. And I know Kyle, he likes to go out and play. And so my going away present to you and to Danny is seeing two people whose lives have changed continue on the path together. And I just have one simple question. Tasha, will you marry me?
Shut your mouth!
Less than a minute?
Go see her. Don't hug me. What? And that will never be topped. The microphone is shut down. We love you guys. Congratulations. Holy cow. Woo! I'm going to be putting this one in our journal, Danny. Hey, we love you guys. We'd love to hear all of your stories. Please eat and drink and take those sweet candies with you. Hey, those of you going to the retreat with us on Thursday, noon right here. Bring some money for food. Hey, I love you guys. You've been absolutely incredible. Thanks for an amazing last night. Hang out as long as you want, and we'll see you sometime. Love you.